back to this Real America's Voice Newsbreak. I'm Terrence Bates. President Trump started this Veterans Day off by honoring the men and women who have served this country in the armed forces. Real America's Voice was there as he laid this wreath at Arlington National Cemetery. The commander-in-chief also offering up remarks before members of his cabinet as well as the vice president.
The American flag has always been shielded and protected by a special cast of citizens who has stepped forward to safeguard liberty's cause. When danger came, when duty called, when Almighty God asked, who had the will and the strength to defend the land of the free, each and every American veteran stood up and said, "Here I am, send me, here I am." They've come from every corner of this nation, from the cornfields of Iowa to the hills and valleys of California, from the steel towns of Pennsylvania to the vast plains of Texas, from the banks of the mighty Mississippi to the 5 boroughs of New York City. With selfless commitment and unyielding conviction, they made themselves America's ramparts and became the shield between our homeland and those who would do us harm. With everything they had, they did one thing above all else. They put America first.
Meantime, House Speaker Mike Johnson is calling lawmakers in his chamber back to Washington, saying that he'd like to pass a measure to reopen the government as soon as tomorrow. All of this comes after 8 Senate Democrats crossed the aisle to vote with Republicans in order to pass a compromise to end what is now the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. The 60-40 vote sets up a December vote on expiring Affordable Care Act subsidies, which is what Democrats have been holding out for. Government agencies, by the way, would now be funded through January 30th, plus the SNAP food benefit program, which has been disputed during the current shutdown, would be fully funded until September of next year. That's a quick check of your headlines.
Speaking the truth, no one else has the guts to say. The Charlie Kirk Show.
All right. We here at the Charlie Kirk Show, we realize you have a lot of choices when it comes to who you choose for your cell phone service. But I am here to tell you, I have worked with a lot of them. I wouldn't say all of them because there are new ones popping up all the time. But the best one, and the one that represents your values, the people in this audience, the best is Patriot Mobile. They are the only Christian conservative wireless provider out there, and they have great customer service. For more than 12 years, Patriot Mobile has been on the front lines fighting for your God-given rights and freedoms while also providing exceptional nationwide cell phone service with access to all 3 of the major networks. And like I do, I have 2 of them on my phone. I have the dual SIM, and I recommend it to everyone. Switching is easier than ever. Activate in minutes from the comfort of your own home. Keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Patriot Mobile's all-U.S.-based support team is standing by to take care of you. Call 972-PATRIOT today. That's 972-PATRIOT. Just give them a call. Or go to patriotmobile.com/Charlie. patriotmobile.com/Charlie. Use the promo code Charlie for a free month of service. That's patriotmobile.com/Charlie or call 972-PATRIOT and make the switch today. Glenn and the team are phenomenal, phenomenal people. I support them entirely. I am very excited about our next guest here on the Charlie Kirk Show, and that is Salena Zito. She is a reporter for the Washington Examiner, and she was getting Trump-truthed all over yesterday about some of her reporting on the youth vote. And so I thought it was only appropriate that we brought in Mickey McCoy, who's, you know, like the youth whisperer these days. He's doing phenomenal work. So, Salena, welcome to the Charlie Kirk Show. Mikey, also welcome. I'm excited to have this conversation. Salena, welcome.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, well, listen, you're somebody that I've wanted to have on the show for a while, and I thought this would be a great opportunity. I also want to say, we're going to get to it here in this segment, that your book, New York Times bestseller, Butler,
number 1.
Yes, number 1. And you went in depth on the assassination attempt on Trump. And that was originally why I wanted to have you on, just because you know, obviously the tragedy with Charlie, it hits very close to home. You went in depth with the president. You interviewed him. You got a lot of behind the scenes details there. So please, everybody, check out Butler by Salena Zito. So let's get into the first topic up for bids here is this youth vote. Tell us about your article. What are you finding? What are you seeing?
So what's really interesting to me is throughout the book Butler, because people think it's only about what happened in Butler, but it actually takes a look at the heartland and what was happening last year, but also what is continuing to happen. And that is this youth movement towards faith and towards conservative populism. And how, you know, how I kept seeing it over and over again in Pennsylvania. I wrote about it and I said, guys, something's going on here, right? And a lot of these young people I talked to, and it's in the book, said, well, they were first inspired by listening to Charlie and having their sort of conceived thoughts changed because of the way that he introduced faith into their lives. And ultimately, it led to also becoming conservative voters and understanding the importance of voting. Now, however, since what happened to Charlie happened, what I have seen, you know, in particular in Western Pennsylvania, that's where I live. I know I'm a Washington Post, Washington Examiner reporter, but I live in the middle of the country. And, you know, I see these young people showing up. You can see the pictures there. They're showing up for these revivals. And there's a real sort of awakening going on with young people that is getting largely missed by my profession, but it's very real. It's very profound. And I even, you know, not only have I been covering these revivals in Western PA, but I also see it in my own parish. I'm Catholic. And I see my church going from like, okay, almost filled to like around the pews and out the door filled. So there, and these are young people that are attending, and so I think it's a very interesting thing that is happening in the country.
Yeah, and Mikey, you went with Charlie to just about every single campus stop. I mean, maybe you missed a few over the last couple of years, but we saw this firsthand. You saw it firsthand. What was it about Charlie's message that you could tell was just connecting? You know, that moment where the eyes light up and there's just that aha moment with young people.
Yeah, there's this great clip of Charlie debating a leftist, and he's talking about how Wall Street is purchasing a bunch of the homes. And Charlie agrees with him that should not happen. And the leftist kind of goes, I agree with you. And so Charlie was kind of the only one who was able to capture the energy of this youth populism that you referred to here. But this is also a warning sign for us that now with Charlie being gone, Turning Point, Erica, under her leadership, has done a great job with these events last night at Berkeley, you know, Auburn, Ole Miss, and just helping capture that energy, but also the future of the political movement and the economic reality of under 30s. And so you see dark political radicalization setting in for a lot of these youth. I mean, 3 of the, you know, biggest assassins in the past 12 months have been Gen Z. And so you saw the YouGov poll that says, you know, political violence is acceptable from 18 to 36-year-olds. And so you kind of see this radicalization of the youth. But then you also see it with their economic reality. Rents are at an all-time high. First-time home buyers are at 40 years old. Median home buyers are at 61 years old. Of the assets owned in the United States, I think we have a photo of this. I think it's 174 of the assets owned in the United States. Baby boomers own about 50% of it. Gen Z really doesn't even have any stake in the U.S. economy right now. And so they're churning to radicalization, which is kind of what you saw with Zohran Mamdani this last week with his massive win. And you saw actually moderate conservatives and conservatives voting for Zohran Mamdani at a 7% rate and a 9% rate in New York City. And this is because they're seeing something that we're not. And so I just, what do you guys make of this? How do you see a solution for young people? Because I'm the resident Gen Zer in the studio, but I want to hear from you guys what you think.
No, and Salena, Mikey brings up a good point. There's a temptation to think that we have this on lock now, but really a lot of these people are politically homeless. They're willing to park their vote with Trump if he could deliver the goods, and I think that the verdict is still out on that.
Yeah, and that's a constant in American politics, right? People tend to switch back and forth depending on who is speaking to them. And one of the most important aspects in American politics is how do you speak to the voter about place, right? Their rootedness. You know, that thing, that connective tissue that makes them want to invest and stay where they are, right? To have that stability. And, you know, it's 8 out of 10 young Americans live within, 20 miles of their hometown, like where they grew up. So they want to be rooted. So who's speaking to that? In the 2024 election, that was what Trump spoke to and J.D. Vance spoke to. They addressed people in their place, and they told them your place matters, you matter. And I think that is a concept that is not always apparent to people. I think Charlie was very good about speaking to place as well. But the politician that speaks to it sort of captures the imagination, in particular if you're young. And that's what Zoran did. He showed up and he said, I see you, and I'm going to make everything better. He is not going to get half of what he said he's going to get. Free child care for all between 6 weeks and 6 years old. That's not going to happen. I don't know who can pay for that, right? Rent control, free public transportation. But he showed up with a smile and he said, I can do it. And that is what you have to pay attention to when you're leading a movement. And the conservatives have to say, all right, New York City isn't really where we would probably win a battle anyways. However, how do we maintain that conversation about place? Because when it comes to place, it also comes to family, it comes to faith, it comes to community, all those social fabrics that people crave, that purpose people crave, are part of place.
Yeah, and you know, we had on the right this week a debate about 50-year mortgages erupt, right? You know, so Trump kind of floats this. I'll be honest with you. The emails to this show, freedom@charliekirk.com, they were more positive than I was anticipating. A lot of people saw it as like a pragmatic step, that was something that they could use if they needed, and then, you know, refinance down to a more traditional 30-year or something like that. I was surprised. There was still a lot of negative. I'm not convinced. And it's not the silver bullet, right? It's not going to the end all be all. But when you look at guys like in Mikey's position, a Gen Zer looking to get ahead, you know, these kind of ideas we need to start talking about. I think we need an economic moonshot for Gen Z. Yeah. And frankly, we need a better phrase than economic moonshot, because Gen Z is probably not even sure what I'm talking about when I say an economic moonshot. So Mikey, floors to you. Like, the economics of it all, I think, is incredibly important here. What are people saying in your age bracket?
Yeah, you're right in that New York City isn't a place necessarily that Republicans can win, but it is a canary in the coal mine with what's happening as this youth populism movement is happening. And this is a huge warning sign, not just in the midterms, but also for the 2028 presidential election. Young people are going to start turning to radical candidates if there aren't solutions. And I'm talking total economic reality has to change for these people. And they're going to start turning to AOC as a presidential candidate. I mean, I think it's more likely that AOC is going to be a candidate for young people than Gavin Newsom when it comes to the left. And I think a lot of young people on the right, too, would turn to a candidate like that. But we can't afford a home. We have student loans that are crushing us. We have 58% of college grads graduate college, and then for their first year, they're unemployed. So the job market is shrinking, the labor market's shrinking. There's no jobs for the degrees that they had. The student loans are at an all-time high. Credit card debt is at an all-time high with crushing APYs. It's totally killing young people. And we're going to turn to radical solutions, even if it is Mamdani smiling and giving us a promise that won't happen. And eventually, this could destroy our country. So the right needs to start asking themselves questions. 50-year mortgages, maybe that's not the best idea for young people in this country. And they need to start reaching out to young people. I thought it was amazing that J.D. Vance, he comes to mind in particular in Ole Miss. He was talking about this stuff, but then he also wants to do more of these with young people. I feel like he's the only person right now, him and Erica Kirk, that are actually going out and engaging young people in the U.S.
What's funny is if you had a 50-year mortgage, the median home buying age is 40, so you would be 90 by the time you paid off that mortgage. So it's a little bit disconcerting. More with Salena Zito in just a moment. I want to tell you about one of our partners here. If you owe IRS back taxes, guess what? They can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts. They can even seize your retirement and take your home, if you can get one, that is. So don't let the IRS target you. Call the professionals at Tax Network USA. Their tax lawyers and enrolled agents are experts in powerful programs that may even help you eliminate your tax debt altogether. Tax Network USA is A+ rated and has saved over $1 billion for their clients. That's billion with a B. In just one phone call, you can start the process of stopping the threatening demand letters, stopping the aggressive collections, and resolving your tax matters once and for all. But you got to act now while you still have options. For a free consultation, call Tax Network USA today at 1-800-958-1000. That's 1-800-958-1000, or visit TNUSA.com, TNUSA.com. More with Salena Zito when we get back in just a moment.